Yeah. Okay.
I did a worksheet. I don't know um if you want me, or did I? Um, I did a um one believe did a
Okay.
worksheet. Anyway, um, and they're all universal beliefs, right? So my work is everybody's work.
You got it.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the situation. I recently moved into my mom's house. New chapter in my life. Um, she lives in a much older neighborhood. And she knows all of her neighbors, and she's friendly. She's friendly with everybody. She's just a really friendly person. And many of the neighbors I've gotten to meet over the past few months. And there was one neighbor that was really friendly to me at first, and all of a sudden she just took a left turn, and she's like she avoids, eye contact. She doesn't wave anymore. For the life of me, figure out what happened. But so that's the situation. I was on my morning walk, and although this has happened many times, this one time she literally walked across the other side of the street and like avoid me. Or well, that's
Hmm.
my story. That she avoided me. Um so the belief that I wanted to work on with that was she rejected me.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like literally using the judge your neighbor worksheet for a neighbor. It's always kind of fun.
It is.
Mm. Okay. So
It
she
is.
rejected you when she walked across to the other side of the street. Is that true? Okay. And can you absolutely know it's true? She rejected you.
No.
So how do you react in that moment when she's walking across to the other side of the street and you're believing that she's rejecting you or you're thinking that she's rejecting you?
I feel my face feels hot. I feel my lines here, like the inquisitive look. They're just ingraining the lines on my face more. I feel tense. Um, I wonder what I did to make her be that way or react. Um, I I even in my mind accuse my mom of saying something to her. Crazy because she's not like that. But I feel like an outsider in the neighborhood. I feel like, with second guessing what am I doing? Why did I do this? This big move. Um, and now I'm here. So I feel trapped a little bit. Um, dang. I feel hurt. I feel um kind of exhausted about not being accepted in a new place, and especially such an important place. Um, a little hopeless. I get very judgmental about her and her high mighty horse, whatever.
And do you notice it anywhere in your body when you think this thought? She rejected me or she's rejecting me in that moment?
I feel a lot of energy right here in my throat area. My face is red or hot, feels hot. I feel tense. I just get very judgmental, very critical. So this thing again.
Hmm. So, how about images? Do you see any images from the past or the future when you think she rejected you? Or she is rejecting
I
you if
see
you're
a lot
standing
of
in the moment?
Thank you. I see a lot of it. I see it a lot. I see all the times that she's done that. She's turned her head, or she's walked across the street, or she looks down, um, and just kind of avoids me coming. And, images in the future. I see her rallying other neighbors to kind of team up against me. I feel defensive. I feel like I have to um, justify what I'm doing, or yeah, there's something defensive going on there. Like I'm going to have to report to somebody, or the group for that matter. Yeah,
Hmm. And whose business are you in when you think she's rejecting you?
100% hers. 100% hers, or God's. I mean, definitely not mine.
So, who would you be without the thought that she's rejecting you? Just in the same situation where she's walking across to the other side of the street, who would you be if you weren't so strongly thinking this thought? She's rejecting you.
I'm waving at her. I'm smiling at her. I'm asking her how she's doing, or a friendly salutation, I guess. I'm definitely free from the judgment. It's clearer. Hmm. I'm compassionate. I'm curious, but not in a judgmental way. Just curious, compassionate, friendly, smiley. I even hear my voice. Oh, hi. Like up an octave,
Hmm.
like I would with anybody else that I recognize on the street. Yeah, definitely more my loving self than my judgmental self. My self, capital S.
Hmm. And what do you see when you look at her without this thought that she's rejecting you? Even if you see her many times walking away or looking down. And what do you notice about her when you're not thinking, when you're focused on she's rejecting me?
Well, I actually see her. I'm just noticing right now that she's kind of sad, maybe, or, interesting. I just also realized that she's alone. She's not walking with her husband right now. Um, wow. So I see her. I'm not caught up in my story about me. I actually see her, and it's a different person that I'm seeing right now. She almost looks sad. She's not walking very quickly. She's just kind of slow, you know, I don't know. Almost a totally different person, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So the contrast is so interesting, how the thought she rejected me just changes how you even see that situation. So how would you turn the thought around? She rejected you, or she's rejecting you.
She rejected me. She rejected me. Uh, she didn't reject me.
Okay. So when she walks across the street, how's that possible?
Well, she didn't say anything. She didn't reject me. She didn't say, "Get away from me," or anything like that, you
I don't
know?
ever want to see you again.
I but I could think it. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
No, she didn't say it.
Well, it's interesting to see because it's a little bit of there's a looseness in that. Like, okay, it could be that she is rejecting me. We're not ruling that out,
Yeah, yeah,
but it's also not for sure because
yeah,
it's sort of in that ambiguous place.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she didn't reject me, and she so the fact is she walked across the street. Now, thinking at thinking about it objectively, it could be anything. I even had the thought when I first moved in that my mom's door ring camera, whatever, doorbell, um, in my mind, it invades other people's privacies when they walk by. And the thought crossed my mind that she walks across the other side of the street to not be recorded on my mom's ring doorbell. So,
Interesting, right? These are alternative explanations besides she's rejecting me. Okay. Can you find more like that? Why she might be doing that that may not even have anything to do with you, possibly.
well, the other thought that I had is not our house, but the one next door has a very um, kind of obnoxious puppy, but it's a big dog, so it barks really loud at everything that walks by. So it could be, that um, it could be that she's walking. I feel like I'm speculating right now, but it is true that it could be because she didn't want her dog. I mean, there's what honestly, there's there are a lot of these.
Hmm.
The thought just occurred to me that she's not walking with her husband right now. Maybe there's something going on there, and she doesn't want to talk. And I'm a talkative person, Maybe she just doesn't want to have a conversation with me, or have to confess something, or I don't know. There really could be there could be anything going on. But what I'm noticing from this turnaround is that she didn't reject me.
Yeah.
It's just, whatever's going on, life is going on. It just wasn't a rejection.
But what's interesting is that it's, like you were saying, it's speculation, but it was speculation to think that she's rejecting you. So we're just balancing one speculation with another, and it's really helpful to do. That's what the
Yeah.
turnaround provides the space for. Like, oh, yeah, she could be rejecting me, not ruling that out. But it could be the doorbell, the like video camera, could be the dog, could be her husband, could be she's super introvert and just can't handle someone who talks more. Could be any of these things that doesn't necessarily mean rejecting you, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I really am feeling a pull towards another turnaround, which is I rejected her.
Okay.
And the very first example I have for that is shortly after I moved in, um, we were having well, I have no idea how long it's been going on, but I noticed it after I moved in. There's cats in my mom's yard. My mom doesn't have any animals. And there's cat pee and there's cat poop everywhere, like as if she had 10 cats. And so I, of course, cleaned it all up, but now I'm like hyper vigilant about doing things to make sure that there are no cats. And this lady must have 10 cats and she doesn't. y- I made a comment about cat pee or cat poop or whatever in the yard. And she kind of said off to the side, oh, I hope it's not one of my cats. And I just, who knows what I look like when she said that. And so I'm sure, you know me, like everything's out and the open. So I'm sure I must have had some kind of a look, maybe not rejecting her, but rejecting her cat
Hmm.
for coming into the
Right.
yard.
And or if her cats are really close to her, some people
Oh,
identify, then
100%.
she could take it personally.
Completely
Yeah.
blended, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I rejected her, and that happened before she started averting her gaze. So,
Interesting.
um,
So it's just the opposite of what you're thinking. Like she's rejecting you.
yeah,
Like you, from her point of view, you rejected her and she's just
yeah.
reacting to
Uh,
that believed rejection.
Not knowing, not being fully aware that I rejected her, but I did reject her. I rejected her cats
Rejected her cats, right?
in the yard
Yeah.
doing their business. Um, so that's one example. Another example is um, when she turns away or when she looks down, when I'm driving by or when I'm walking by or whenever, I'm rejecting her. Like I'm like with the thought that she's rejecting me. I am completely rejected. Like I got to a point where I'm not even looking anymore, and I'm not, I'm not waving or anything. I'm just like she's not there. So I'm definitely rejecting her. Um, since that first feeling of rejection.
Yeah. Right. So it's interesting how rejection ping pongs off of each other. Like she might have thought you were rejecting her, and then maybe she's rejecting you. Who knows? But then you're rejecting her for rejecting you. Tick, 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 tick.
But even before that, even before the reciprocating judgment or whatever that is, I think that I rejected her. There was another incident shortly after I moved in, where I didn't know the rules of bulk garbage pickup, and I uh, was taking stuff out of my mom's house. We have bulk pickup once a month where I just came from. And so I thought, oh, at the end of the month, they'll just come by. I just assumed it was the same and it's not. It's completely different here in this other city. But I was putting stuff out and for some strange reason, some random person put some stuff in near her back door and it wasn't me. I mean, it's 3 houses down and it's not even anywhere near any of our stuff, but she accused me and not only accused me, but like didn't believe me when I said it wasn't our stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so that made me like reject her. Like in my mind, I didn't come out and say it, but in my mind, I was like, you're not believing what I'm saying. Why would I walk all the way down there and put this stuff here when I'm just clearly loading this area right here by the garbage can with my stuff? Why would I take one thing? And so that created like, I don't know, her perceived mistrust in what I was saying, what I was doing made me reject her. So
Mhm.
there was that too. So there's several reasons where I have rejected her.
Yeah, these are great examples, and they help balance, whether she's rejecting you or not. even if she is, at least you can see the balance of you've been rejecting her too, and maybe it's only you rejecting her, like who knows? So that's the unknown of the situation. But the turnarounds just help to balance it. Um, So is there another turnaround? She's
Well,
rejecting me.
the elephant in the room. Um, I rejected me.
Okay. So when
Uh,
you thought she rejected you, or when she walked across the street, how were you rejecting you?
it's the same story. Um, Different face, different circumstances. Same story. Um, immediately went to, what did I do? What did I do to cause that behavior? Um, but after this inquiry, I can see that I have done some things to cause that behavior. Um, but yeah, but my initial reaction is always, or not what did I do, but what can I do to make her like me? Or what can I do to feel included, or for her to not treat me like that? What do I need to do? I rejected me. I rejected me. Uh, my normal MO, or my comfortable, when myself comes through, I'm smiling and waving and being friendly with neighbors. And I rejected part of me every time she walks by me.
Mm-hmm.
And that time when she walked across the street, I'm withholding myself. I'm withholding my true self from her. And that way I rejected me.
And what do you make it mean about you when she walks across the street?
Yeah, there's something wrong with me. There's more proof that I'm broken or defective or unworthy of her, whatever that is. Attention, maybe?
So that's you rejecting you, right? You're taking a situation and using it to bolster a story of I'm not good enough or something like something
Yeah.
wrong with. So, um, she reject any other turnarounds?
Do you ever do the Yahoo turnarounds?
Yeah, I was just thinking that one just on this one
Yeah.
actually. Mm-hmm.
I actually felt some relief, and yay, she rejected me. I don't have to talk to the cat lady, I don't have to,
Yeah,
the person that doesn't seem to like me, you know, I don't have to play.
right. Not a bad thing, right? It's only a bad thing if I think it's a bad thing, or I want her to like me, I want to be included, those kind of underlying beliefs. But in reality, it's like, okay, you got rejected if she did reject you, and no big deal, right? It depends on how you look at it. Any other advantages of being rejected by her, if that's actually the case?
Well, there is one thing, um, and this is, another story, but she appears to be the neighborhood, Mrs. Kravitz, or I don't know if anybody else will know what that reference is, but the gossip of the neighborhood. Mrs. Kravitz was the lady that watched on Bewitched, a little sitcom from the 70s, and she knew everything about everyone. And it, this woman seems to have that position in this neighborhood. So it would be a good thing that she rejects me, because she's not listening to all my whatever and spreading it around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You may have been spared there.
No, maybe. No, maybe there. Although there's not a whole lot of drama in my life these days, but
Right.
still, I
But
mean,
still. So what this does is just, again, balances the picture. If she rejects you, then great. You don't have to, you're not being exposed in that way or whatever. But if she doesn't reject you, it might have changed back and she stops rejecting you or starts liking you, then that's also good. So like, you're flexible. There's benefit either way you go. And that's freedom.
it's funny you say that because when I went on my morning walk today, um, she nodded at me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was interesting how, um, how my reaction was different. Like, it wasn't like, "Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I've been waiting for you to," it was just like, "Oh, okay." Today
Mhm.
she smiled or today she nodded, and so it's not, 100% of the time. My burning question is, I feel like I can now, like, we're out of the work and I'm starting a
Yeah.
story, but, um, I feel like I might be projecting this rejection onto people that I don't care for. And then I go into this, she rejected me, even though I don't like the idea of being a victim. I say that and I feel like I keep going there. Like, something about me is like holding on to this story of being a victim, and it creeps up on me. And so, like, I'll reject her. Like, in this case, I reject her just to feel bad about being rejected by somebody
Mhm.
instead of like owning that I'm the one that's rejecting her. Is
Mhm.
that
Yeah. So what do you get for doing that? Like that's a painful thing to do to yourself, but there's must be some egoic payoff there or something that's it's easier to do that than something else, or you just, I don't know. What do you get?
okay? It's easier to do that than to come out and say, I don't like you.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
You're you're not fitting into my, whatever, expectations or whatever. Wow.
Yeah.
So
So,
there's something in there about accountability, which
mhm.
is hysterical to me because that's a big judgment I have about other people.
Funny how it works, isn't it?
Ouch. I'm getting that little tingly in my nose right now. I'm onto something here. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's interesting the convolutions we have to
Oh.
go through when we're trying to not do something that we that we I don't know would naturally do. A- And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way of doing things here, but it's just interesting to see how the mind would pick a circuitous path and then end up being a victim as a result of it.
And which brings shame, which, brings the whole,
Yeah.
an image just came up to me of a mirror. I should say the mirror. And I always remember her saying, our brains have it right. They're just backwards. They're just backwards. So she rejected me is always going to be a variation of the opposite of that. But why do I keep going there?
Yeah.
And it's almost like uh, um, ammunition in a way against me to to get in that lazy boy chair of feeling rejected. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I like the way you say that lazy boy chair. It's like the quote unquote easy way out, but it's not easy because it's involves me being rejected and it feels terrible. But
Yeah, but
it's
it's familiar.
familiar, right? And I don't have to have any courage to just be honest, and I don't take any responsibility for my own experience, my own happiness, I'm just, it's all their fault, and I can just keep pointing, and then, oh,
Yeah.
I'm terrible too, and it just goes into a big vicious circle. But it's just the opposite of where the turnarounds always point us, which is back to taking responsibility and um, bypassing that whole vicious cycle. Cool. Well, thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah.
That was incredible. That was really really eye opening. I don't know what living turnaround I can choose. There were a few of them in there, but I'm gonna sit in that.
Yeah. I love how a simple situation like this, someone walking across to the other side of the street, and then the interpretation that she's rejecting me, how working that one simple little thing, it's so profound, at the same time so relatable. Yeah. Thank you for your work.